Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of Ring of Honor Resurrected. We had a really great show last episode. 60, I want to say, which I don't know if it was the highest it was the highest we've done. So overall, really good. All it took was having a fantastic main event with main event level talent. Shocking, I know, but overall, really great show. It boosted us up to 40 in our Mid-Atlantic range here. We had to get to a 59 in the next year and 9 months. We got a lot of time, but really happy with how that shaked out. One of the things I talked about in the last episode that I want to do today, real briefly before we get to the next episode, is I just want to look at a few people to see what their popularity progress is. Because we have a few people that we're really keyed in on that we want to grow into main event talent for us in the future. So Willow is obviously one of them who has very sporadic popularity. If we had to save later and we used a newer database, she probably would be higher because she's been more frequently on like AEW and stuff like that. So I'm certain she has probably a higher popularity now. But for now, starting off, we're kind of stuck with what we have here, which isn't great. 21, considered recognizable, but not where we want it to be. In terms of skill set, maybe a little underscored too. Everything that looks fine. Charisma looks right. Microphone acting may be a little bit higher, so we might tweak her a little bit. I think brawling might be higher than at maximum of 55, but that's maybe my preference. But we want to build her up and make her one of our top stars of our women's division. So best way to do that is through building her popularity, because that's going to be a big factor. I'm curious to see where she's standing. Slow and steady is moving up, but nothing major. And it's going to be difficult for us to find people for her to beat that is really going to boost her popularity. We did it with Deonna Purrazzo, but when we look at our women's division, when we look at people that are considered, let's say, star, there's two. Former champ, and that's about it. Major stars, nobody. In fact, even Jordynne Grace, only a well-known with a 34. So even having her beat Jordynne Grace eventually, potentially for the world title, still wouldn't necessarily be a... I mean, it might, because it'll be a championship win, but definitely going to be one of the situations where we have to build her up and try to build her popularity. I would like her to be into the star caliber. Ultimately, my goal is I want Jordynne Grace in the star caliber, and I want Willow in the star caliber. So that's the challenge, is getting them there. But overall, happy to see that progress. Jordynne probably hasn't had much movement. She was at a 29, moved to a 34-ish across the country. So overall, not too bad. That's actually pretty nice, all things considered there. Some of the other people that we would be looking at is we're very focused on Joe Hendry. Everybody loves Joe Hendry. But Joe Hendry is not super well known in America, probably more known in the British Isles. Right now, about even, but still in the lower ones. Is a recognizable face, but not a star. And we want to make him a star. We want to make him at least well known. I want him to be a star. I want him to be a star of Ring of Honor. So let's see. Mid-Atlantic is really where our big focus is, and has definitely moved quite a bit. So having him beat Dalton a couple times has certainly helped, but we need him into bigger and better things. Dalton probably has potentially suffered. We'll have to see. He's at a 28 right now in Mid-Atlantic. About the same. He's been exactly where he's been. So he hasn't lost anything from losing those, but we definitely want to build him up. I mean, he's got an amazing brawling ability, but his technical skills are very strong, in addition to just being a powerhouse when it comes to charisma, microphone work, acting. We could get, truthfully, I would, if I could get him to a star, I'd probably give him the world title and give him another run that he deserves. But we need to get him there. So that's definitely a pet project to kind of build up. Who else are we building that we really want to look at? Well, we're certainly building up Wheeler and Daniel Garcia. Wheeler currently at a 35 in Mid-Atlantic, and has definitely moved up there since we started. So doing very well. Seems like we are moving him in. He's considered a star at because I think he has some areas where he's more known. So doing well there and definitely building up in a positive direction. Nobody seems to be receding, which is nice. Some of our new hires probably aren't doing very well. I have a suspicion Swerve, who we've not really utilized very well yet, may not have a drop in popularity, but he's moving up a little bit. A person that we really need to build something for, but I'm certainly focusing on some other talent to build them up first. Our enhancement talents probably are not doing very much at all. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit, but nothing amazing. They're mostly getting squashed, which we kind of expected, but even in that, they're still going to get a little bit of a boost because they're being featured and they're facing, like top talent, right? So, you look at a guy like Bobby Flaco here. Started off with us at a 4, and in a couple months, it's already pretty much more than doubled where he's been. He's actually at a 10 now. And he's only won a couple times. He has a completely neutral momentum. So, not a big deal. I mean, they're moving up in a positive direction, which is what's important. Except for Connor Claxton here, who's actually dipped down. That's good to know. I'm also curious to see. We haven't done another hiring run, but AEW has also not asked us to send anybody their way yet. Now, a lot of our roster is ours, right? Because they're just going to be like Ring of Honor talent. But we do have a few people that are on developmental contracts. Not sure if I can look that up here, but there are certainly multiple. Why I feel like I could have, but I do not see it. There are some people that have contracts that are developmental, that they have sent us, they have hired specifically for us, and it's mostly our younger talent. Then they're probably going to be here for a while, to be quite honest, but there's a lot of people that are still ours permanently. So we have that advantage of having a nice stable roster with new talent coming in that we will help out and then send up to AEW. I did one at near the start of our save a couple months ago where I hired a few people as AEW and sent them down. I may do that again, but I'm not going to do that yet. I think we will do that after our next pay-per-view, Glory by Honor, and just to look and see if there's maybe a couple people that we want to send down to either send from AEW as a rotation to build up some talent and build up some momentum in our developmental, or people to hire. So we'll do that, but we're going to do that after our next pay-per-view. All right, so we got another show in 6 days, and we have about like 5 weeks to build something out of it to get to our 2-day show, which will be very difficult to book. And the last show left us with FTR, of course, becoming our tag team champions once again. And I suspect we're going to move them into a feud with the Young Bucks at that pay-per-view. So that should be a hella fantastic match. But we have a lot of other work to go through as well. We have Jay Lethal, obviously starting something up with Jonathan Gresham. We have Kenta and Daniel Garcia, but we really don't know if that's going to be on that next pay-per-view when we get there. We got a bunch of things that kind of irons in the coal, so to speak, right? That we're kind of working on, and probably need some more for a two-night pay-per-view. So something I'm going to be thinking about of who else we can kind of build up. But we have a pretty decent roster that we can start to build up towards. So, including our alliance titles. I mean, we could still even put, our U.S. title on the line. Our 6-man on the line. I don't think Kenta can win unless we did a talent trade. I'm trying to remember. I don't think he could win our belt, our TV title, which is currently on Daniel Garcia, because he is not on our roster. Now, we could probably hire him and bring him in if we wanted to do that. Not saying that necessarily the direction we want to go. He is written, so he would be able to be hired that way. We could also do a talent trade. I know a few people were asking about how talent trades work, because we don't do a lot of them on here, and that's because it kind of sucks in TEW 2020. It used to be that you had the ability to just, with cash, just say, hey, I want this guy for 10 appearances, and I will pay you blah, blah, blah. And they say, okay, here you go. And you could take that guy, right? Right now, the only things that you can do is do an offer where you offer a worker to another company for a loan without asking for anything in return. And that's it. You can't ask them to do the same. You can swap a wrestler permanently from one to another. Or you can do a talent trade where you swap one for another temporarily. That works unless you're a company that does not have anybody that anybody is interested in. So, Bandito, you're not open to this proposal. Why not? PP less wrestling than members of a roster. So, again, this is one of the situations that they're not going to give us anybody. I mean, we probably couldn't get... We can't get Red Shoes Uno over here. For Bandito. For one appearance. 2 appearances. The system's broken, and it doesn't make sense for what we have. I mean, who would they take? Cash? No. Because you're probably already working there, right? Wouldn't be much of a draw. You kidding? So, I don't know. This system is not great. Over time, I've been hoping that they would add either ability to sweeten the deal, and ultimately I hope that there'd be an ability where I could just, in this situation, be like, okay, what if I actually paid you 3 times what you're asking, and then I could negate that, right? Or for the offer, just cold cash. right now this talent system is broken, and that kind of limits us, especially as a Ring of Honor, of who we can kind of borrow. We can do a single one-time alliance loan, but you're limited to like a very small amount. Like I'm going to say 6 every 4 months or something like that. It's ridiculously small, and it's only for a single show. So you can't build any storylines out of it. It's really, on the short list of things I would want from a TEW 2024, an overhaul of the talent system and the trade system is practically number one. So if you're wondering why I don't trade a lot of people, that's why. Now there's ways in the save that we could do that, and I'm not opposed to fudging this if needed, but generally I've just been avoiding it because it's a headache. So kind of a bummer, but that's the state of the game. And I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight in case you were asking about how come we haven't done any talent trades, or how come I never really do any talent trades. That's generally why. We'll probably be doing more potentially in my brand new save NWA Dynasty. So if you're not watching that, it's on the channel. And that we are trying to rebuild an alliance from scratch as the NWA. And that one's probably going to have a lot more talent trading and other problems and headaches that come from building an alliance. Anyways, we got 6 days ago. Let's go ahead and sim. Hopefully nothing crazy happens in the meantime. And I'll catch you guys in a second. All right, guys, we are back because we got some news in between our save. Obviously, CM Punk's got some storyline going on with Jon Moxley. I'm sure that's going to go well. But what we have going on is Punishment Martinez. We stole from WWE, and he's now joined Ring of Honor. So that's going to be a fun one. But also, one of the problems, but one of the gifts of having alliance titles is that Tony Khan is booking AEW, and if he wants to change a title, he can do it. And he says Wheeler Yuta's not that guy. So Ethan Page has won the Pure title last night. Now, I could just hotshot this back and forth forever, but why? Why bother? Let's play with that. Let's make that interesting. So for a little bit of time, because ultimately this is what the goal of these alliance titles was to entice AEW to potentially, put some people in this situation. Now, Vincent's and the Righteous here are tag trios, tag team, but if that changes, that's fine. I'm fine with that. That's not a big deal. Now that changes storylines, but that just means that for these titles, it doesn't become about the storyline doesn't become about winning the title. It becomes about overcoming something. Just like how in our story that we had involving Wheeler Yuta and Tracy Williams, is more about a personal one-upmanship. So not a big deal. Yuta no longer a Pure champion, but that's fine. We got Ethan Page, so I had to figure out what I want to do with him, and whether we show him tonight, I don't know. But it's definitely an interesting thing to deal with, is that we might be able to have an Ethan Page. Now, what I'm hoping is that they don't just start hot-shotting that title, and it's like Ethan Page one week and then someone else the next week and someone else. That kind of could be annoying. Though potentially we might be able to, as we talked about talent trades, Ethan Page might be someone we might be able to get if we have someone that they're open to. We cannot, actually, because as a parent company, we can't do that at all. So, again, a bit of a limiting factor there, but, something we have to work with. Hopefully, we'll have to see that hopefully AEW is not insane with alliance title changes, and Ethan can have a little bit of a run, and we can work with him to do something. Anyways, just wanted to give you guys that quick update. Let's go ahead and get back to our PM screen to book the show. All right. We got a backstage incident with Samoa Joe. Joe came to me backstage. He thinks that Wheeler Yuta has a bright future, and he'd be willing to put him over in order to help take him to the next level. That is an offer that will expire in 5 months. That is a very, very tempting offer. That's a promise. 2 promises we now have. We have 1 promise for Mercedes Martinez to put over Layla Hirsch. That expires in 3 months. We haven't utilized that yet, but it's in the back of my mind. Layla Hirsch is definitely another one that I want to build. But for now, sort of in the women's division, Willow's sort of my project that I want to work on building. Wheeler Yuta, 5-month window to utilize that. That's interesting. And we do not really have a story for Joe or Wheeler Yuta. It seems mean, though, to have Joe lose the world title, then get into a storyline where Wheeler Yuta beats him after losing his pure title. I don't know. It's a little messy, but maybe it's something we can work with. I had to think about it. I don't know if we're going to book anything involving it this show, but if we do, you'll know what it is. But if not, let me know in the comments what you think we should do with that. But I definitely am not going to miss an opportunity for Samoa Joe to put over Wheeler. That's a huge one. That's your biggest star, or one of your biggest stars in the company, is saying, I will be pinned clean for this guy. That's crazy, but maybe something we can work with. Anyways, we got a show to book, another 90 minutes. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's see what we can get up to. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the flip. All right, guys, we are back. Full 95 minutes, 2 pre-show matches. Didn't get a lot done, but we started a little bit of story building for a few things. Let's see how the show went. Again, as always, just hard to book 90 minutes, especially when you have to have 20-minute matches for some of these. But I think we did okay. Let's go ahead and take a look what we got. Pre-show match number 1. Layla Hirsch has not been involved in a while. Giving her a win. Again, she's not going to be seen by a lot of people, but she's going to be seen by the people in the arena. Going to build up some local popularity. So, end of the day, it still helps to have them on the pre-show, even if the broader audience is going to see them all. We give her a win against Maddie. 10 minutes, cross-arm breaker. Layla seemed off her game. She had a 36, though. Again, pretty good. And if we capitalize on that Mercedes Martinez storyline, which I think we might start to build towards our next pay-per-view. I think one of those 2 nights would be a great, either a start of it and start like a best of 5 kind of thing, or we conclude it there. I don't know yet. But overall, I'm still happy with her performance. I think given some time, given some popularity boost, and moving her up the card a little bit, she's going to be a strong part of our women's division. I think our women's division also needs about 2 or 3 more faces. Hopefully, maybe AEW sends somebody to us. But if not, we might either jump in and send some people down for after our pay-per-view like we talked about, or we might do our own hiring. I'd rather not do any more hiring on our own. I'd rather hire for AEW and then send them down, because that makes more sense for a developmental. So that's sort of my thought process there. Our 6-man champions, the Righteous, have a match against Shinobi Shadow Squad, and didn't have much heat. Had decent wrestling, though. Actually, everybody did really well, all things considered. I feel bad for Leon Ruff because he's such a good wrestler, but we keep on giving him matches where he's losing. So, need to give Righteous something. even in the pre-show, build them up in some capacity. Overall, this is actually a pretty good match. This might be better in some matches that are on the show. At least one I could think of. So that's kind of unfortunate. I do that a lot. But the Righteous get a win and defeat Rush. Vincent pinned Eli. So I give Leon a little bit of opportunity to not take the pin. Poor Eli gets the pin here. And we build up our 6-man a little bit. All right, we start the show off with Jay Lethal. Seeing a theme here. This does not do as well as Jay Lethal's last microphone work, but oh well. Got the show off to a strong start, and it got the crowd hotter. Jay Lethal starts the show with another promo. He's talking about how there's a bunch of people in the wrestling industry. They think they're pure talent. They think they're like the next big thing. But when you really pull apart it all, he says, they're really just overhyped acts. They're a fling of the week by a ignorant and fickle internet fan. Meanwhile, Jay Lethal has been the real deal for nearly 20 years, completely unrespected, as he's come in, day out, put on bangers, be consistent, be the guy that you would always want because he's reliable and hardworking and talented and never got any respect. But the real fact of the matter is that he knows deep down, and all these other things of the week know that if he was champion during the pandemic, Ring of Honor would have never even been sold. He offers any past champion besides Jonathan Gresham to come out and face him tonight so he can prove himself the true heir of Honor. Bandito, former champion, comes out to accept the challenge. So we do start to show off with a strong start. We have our main event, Jay Lethal versus Bandito. That should go well, I hope. Got the crowd hotter. Not much to say about it. Pretty good. And then we go from one promo to another. We got Dalton Castle backstage with the boys. He is in what looks to be some kind of storage room in the back of the arena. Lots of knickknacks and old pieces of paraphernalia and memorabilia. A lot of things stored away. And he sees something like a piece of furniture draped with a dusty and stained cloth, and it looks like this thing has been stored away for a long time. It's maybe a chair, or maybe like a pedestal. It's something that's kind of draped around waist height. Touches it, looks at it, doesn't reveal it, just sighs, and he looks to the boys. The boys look sad. Everyone's kind of dismayed, and he has a very somber voice, and he goes, after the last couple weeks, it's times like this that make you feel like giving it all up. And the boys look scared. They start fanning him, the negative thoughts out of him. Sometimes it just feels like the whole world's one step ahead of you, and you've fallen behind. And maybe it's just time to realize that it's just time to pack it all up and go away. He snaps the look to the camera. He starts to get more invigorated, more hyped up. But when you think that, that's when you double down. That's when you go back to the books. Because you aren't ready to say that goodbye. No, you rage. You rage against the dying light. And you show the world, show all those silly little gooses that with age comes not weakness, but wisdom. And you let them know your name, because I am Dalton G.D. Castle, and I'm going to make you remember that name when I'm gone. So we got Dalton Castle back. He was low. He was on a losing streak. He's reinvigorated. He's saying he's going to prove that even if he's a little bit slower, his back's a little bit more hurt, that he is still a threat. He's not going to let these series of losses define him. This is not going to be the end of his career. but a resurgence, and anybody in his way will regret it. He will remember him when he is gone. He is improvising in this segment, and he's doing a masterful job. Gets us a 51, and it leads us to a match with Dalton Castle, a spirited Dalton Castle, who comes out and has a very good match. It's decent reaction, had good wrestling, fights against Josh Woods, gives him a bangerang, and gets a pinfall in 15 minutes. Both have an equal performance of 56, gets us a 59, and overall a very solid performance as Dalton starts his winning streak back. This actually did better than I thought it would. I expected this one to completely bomb. Jordynne Grace has a very quick match. Well, not a very quick match, but a decently short match against Camille in 10 minutes. Jordynne's been out there fighting, punishing people. She gives Camille a fall of grace and gets the pinfall in 10 minutes. She has a 54. Camille has a 25. Not much to say about it. Gets us a 42. Afterwards, Jordynne Grace starts attacking Camille, and that leads to Willow, who's hobbling after her assault last week, out to go face Jordynne. She tries to make the save and tries to start brawling with Jordynne Grace. Crowd is excited about it, but she is just too weak, and Jordynne just destroys her and leaves both of them hanging. You know, Jordynne's been punishing everybody in her way, everybody that could be a challenger, and Willow is just too injured to fend off any of the attacks. Unfortunately, this gets a 33. Nothing really good came out of this other than we advance the storyline. And hopefully maybe we build some popularity for Willow because she was in segments with other people, but rough. Very rough. A better match that helps us, another exhibition match. Our new tag team champions, FTR, face off against Bear Country in a 17-minute match. In this match, FTR defeat Bear Country, which is not surprising. Give them a big rig. Bear Country, not great performers, 37-38. They're a little undercard, so they're about where they need to be. FTR quickly dispatches them. It's not a hard-fought match here. It's a little too short for a match of this importance, so it got a bit of a penalty. It could have been probably near a 60, just with FTR carrying. I forgot about the 18. I thought 18 minutes was enough to not get that penalty, but I think it's 20, which is fine. We wouldn't be able to get it in here anyways, so I'll take the penalty. A 57 is still totally fine for me. Got the crowd hotter. Afterwards, Nick and Matt Jackson come out, and it's kind of weird. They come to the ring, and it looks like they're about to face off against FTR, but like instead they like try to offer a sign of respect. They want to offer a handshake. We don't get any. Obviously, they're sharing words, but there's no mic, so we don't know what they're saying. But it seems like the Bucks are there as sort of a congratulatory, like, "Hey man, good match" kind of thing, which is unusual for them, and it's unusual for FTR to completely rebuke them. They talk amongst themselves and they ignore the handshake, and the crowd is actually shocked. They don't even have time to boo because they're just so shocked by it. And the Bucks are disgusted, but FTR just walk away from them. So obviously there's some issues between the two teams, but not in the way we expected. FTR clearly have some issues with the Bucks that we'll probably hear about more, and the Bucks kind of try to come out to be positive in some capacity and show their appreciation, and instead just got totally cold-shouldered. This does well, though. It gains heat for our storylines, reviving an old feud, and we do hint at some face work here for Cash. Is Dax still... we'll have to look. I'm not sure if Dax is still a heel and not set for a face or what it is. They're probably going to go face, though this is definitely going to be one of those stories where there's no face or heel here. There's more personal issues. So I think we're probably going to make sure that we turn FTR, if I don't forget here. because we're gonna want them to actually be face champions overall. And then for a main event, before it all happens, Gresham comes out and he joins the announce booth to watch Jay Lethal's match. He was not allowed to challenge specifically. Jay Lethal says that the Ring of Honor World Championship has a height limit, and Gresham's not allowed. So he's here to dish some dirt with Riccaboni and Caprice here, and they are going to have him sit in to commentate on the match. Crowd, though, unfortunately for Gresham, just not caring that he showed up for it. Match itself, not bad. I kind of expected a little bit better between both, but Jay Lethal's off his game here. We do advance the storyline. Gresham weak at the desk. It dragged a little bit, too much for the all-out pace. That's fair. And we still have this Bandito Chavo Guerrero weirdness between the face-heel divide. But Jay Lethal defeats Bandito in 23 minutes. Gives him a lethal injection. Brett Titus did do some distraction work against Bandito here. And not necessarily for the finish, but for an ability to kind of get Jay Lethal back into gear and to build some heat against him. Overall, it gets us a 57, which is not too bad. Got the crowd buzzing. Afterwards, this does okay. I was hoping for a little bit more. We revive a storyline here to actually lose us some heat. Despite some mid-match shenanigans, obviously Bandito doesn't lose fair and square. He offers a handshake to Jay Lethal, who actually looks like he's about to take it. Like he's like kind of like playing it up, like, oh, I don't know if I want to. But he actually does kind of go in to be like, you know what? But before he can do anything, Bandito's viciously attacked from behind. At first, obviously, the commentary booth is like, oh, the damn Foundation. But it's clear it's not the Foundation because they're ringside. So this person's like in a hoodie. No one knows who it is. Jay Lethal appears surprised and kind of upset. Quickly, though, the figure pulls the hood down from the hoodie, revealing that it's the Blackheart Lio Rush, who has been off TV for a bit after losing to Bandito, had some big words. Apparently, he is still upset, still feels like he is the top talent. And he is going to take it to Bandito here. He is looking unhinged like he's never looked. And the two have a vicious, like a 5-minute brawl all over the place to end the show. They end it at the corner of the arena where Lio Rush dives off of the balcony of the uppers and ends up splashing onto Bandito onto a table, destroys him from the balcony spot. He does a stump bump here. Bandito specifically, actually, that's probably the opposite. Should have been Leo, but because he's the one flying, not necessarily the one, crashing on the stationary table. But the stump bump is done. Unfortunately, it's only a 45, so and it doesn't look like anyone got injured, so we're good. But overall, a little underwhelming for end of a show. I think we're going to be about a 57, though, so it should be a pretty decent show overall. Actually, much worse than I thought. 53. That's a bit of a bummer because we actually lose. We don't gain popularity in all the regions, and actually, that might be one of the regions that matter. It might be you have to be 14 points above to gain popularity. I don't think that's the case, but I'll have to take a look at it. But it seems like we did not get all of our boost that we could have. That's a bit of a bummer, but there were some misses that were unexpected here. And overall, I thought it was a better card than it ended up actually being, which it happens sometimes. But we advanced some storylines, we built some stuff, and I'm sure the 370 people that were there were pretty happy. Okay, Ring of Honor report. Yeah, the show was excellent. So overall, still okay. Not that big of a deal. Could have been better. A little disappointed, but it's fine. 510,000 viewers, so still pretty good. I'm still losing a lot of money, but that's fine. And yeah, so again, moved up in Tri-State, did not move in Mid-Atlantic. progress-wise, I mean, we're still moving up. We're still pushing ahead. But we really want to go off on all cylinders to really capitalize on the time that we have to make this work. Overall, though, our performance is still excellent. We're still working fine, even if we're a little bit in debt. So we should be fine. And we have 21 days until Glory by Honor Night 1. So we got a lot of work to do, but that is for another episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.